Hello, good evening. Welcome to News at 10, live from the News Hub at Adesanwe, Kanda, Accra. I am Solace Rose Quarting. A look at the highlights for this evening. Majority Leader in Parliament Oseiche Mensah Bonsu says the House will decide on the review of the Ameri power deal before approval. He stressed extensive consultation would have to be made before a final decision is taken. Meanwhile, Parliament has postponed its decision on the Privileges Committee's report that investigated alleged contemptuous comments by Kennedy Ejapong. Still in Parliament, the Speaker, Right Honourable Professor Aaron Michael Quay, has urged members to improve on their punctuality when the House resumes from recess. Addressing the House just before going on recess, the Speaker noted work on Parliament's enhancement projects are going on and will ensure all members are properly housed. Authorities of Aguna Asarkwa Basic School in the Aguna East District of the Central Region have threatened to close down the primary section next academic year if an additional classroom block is not provided. Currently, the school is undergoing infrastructural challenges, making teaching and learning very difficult. A bridge serving over 2,000 residents within the newly created Suame municipality is posing a threat to the lives of road users following years of neglect. Residents fear being cut off from the Kumasi metropolis and adjoining communities if immediate steps are not taken to get the road repaired. And on the international front, Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa and his rival Nelson Chamisa held final election rallies on Saturday and both vowed to rebuild an economy shattered by Robert Mugabe's long rule. Monday's vote is the first since Mugabe was forced to step down in November after a de facto coup. And Mnangagwa is favored, although the latest opinion poll said the race was too close to call. Still in Africa, an Egyptian court has sentenced 75 people to death for their role in the violence that erupted after President Mohamed Morsi's removal in 2013. The group, including leaders of the banned Muslim Brotherhood, are part of a mass trial of more than 700 people. All these and more coming up in the next 30 minutes. Let's get into the details this evening. And hepatitis B is a public health concern globally. The 28th of July has been set aside by the World Health Organization, the WHO, as World Hepatitis Day. The theme for this year is Finding the Missing Millions. Currently, 12.3% of the Ghanaian population are living with hepatitis B. Despite this high infection rate, only a small segment has access to proper monitoring and care. The remaining larger numbers of persons living with the infection are inadvertently not able to access appropriate care and support, mainly due to lack of funds. As a result, many people return to their homes after being diagnosed of hepatitis B without considering clinical monitoring and treatment options, a factor which has left many individuals with the disease to progress to the complication stage. Right, let's investigate this particular topic, hepatitis B, and we've been joined in the studio by Charles Ampon Eje. He's a public health specialist and a hepatitis researcher. He's also the CEO of Hepatitis Alliance of Ghana, and of course, he's joined us in the studio. Good evening, and many thanks for joining us on News at 10.
Good evening.
All right, now, how would you rate Ghana's readiness, for instance, to achieve the target of reducing viral hepatitis by 65% by the year 2030?
I think on a scale of 10, I'll rate Ghana's efforts between 3 and 4.
3 and 4?
Yeah.
That's quite low.
That's very low, because if you have a higher proportion of your population living with such an infection, about 12.3%, then you should be concerned about developing appropriate response to that. Now, a higher proportion of Ghanaians, we are very much aware, based on different studies that has been published, that they lack knowledge on hepatitis issues. Again, one major concern has to do with linkage to care. Now, if you have less than about 8% of individuals who are diagnosed with hepatitis B linked to care, then of course you should be worried. You should be worried because per the international protocol, everyone with hepatitis B is required to undergo proper monitoring and care. One of the most important things to do is to determine whether such individuals are even candidates for treatment. And it will be based on the results of some of these monitorings that I'm talking about. So you need to do your liver function test, you have to do the hepatitis B profile, and to do the viral loads. Unfortunately, if you look at our structure today, we are not having good structures in place to respond to that.
Now, would you say that hepatitis as it is has been sidelined as compared to probably some other transmitted diseases or easily transmitted diseases?
Exactly. That is actually the case. It has not been given the needed attention that it deserves. You see, the point is, people with hepatitis B live without the clinical manifestation at the early stage of the infection. And most often you see the presentation at the terminal stage, when in most cases nothing can be done about it. So we wait until people report to our facilities with complications, and that is when we respond to it. It brings financial burden on the individuals and again also the country as a whole. So I think that in a whole we have not responded very well to this condition as it's supposed to be.
Now we're looking at 2030 as the target, just 12 years away.
Yeah.
What can we do as a country to reach this goal?
We have to come out with a policy reform. Maybe we have to look at reforming our policy. And the most important thing to do is to consider having most of the hepatitis-related services in our national health insurance scheme. The World Health Organization published a recommended treatment for hepatitis B since 2015. And this is what is almost done everywhere in the world. But in Ghana, we don't have this in our health structure. What it means is that even if you go to the hospital and you test positive, for you to get a treatment is very difficult because the average Ghanaian cannot afford the cost of these medications. So eventually they go back home without getting the requisite treatment, and they end up dying or even developing the complications, which becomes a big issue. So I think that we must look at, moving forward, we must consider adding the recommended treatments as part of the National Health Insurance drug list so that individuals can get access to the drugs, number one. Number two, we should also be considering looking at the various laboratory investigations that are needed in this case, also being part of our National Health Insurance scheme, so that it will take out the financial burden which discourages people from receiving proper monitoring and treatment.
No, so at the rate at which we're operating, how does a 2030 target look like for Ghana on a scale of 1 to 10?
For me, it looks very blurred. It looks very blurred because until we do something or we change the formula, we are likely to remain as it is until we get there. But if the health system responds appropriately to this call, and then we introduce, the major issue has to do with the financial barrier. Once we take away that barrier, we will be able to get there. I'm very sure we'll get there. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And we're just talking about World Hepatitis Day right here in the studio. It's still news at 10, and let's move on and still stay on hepatitis. At least 60% of liver cancer cases are due to late testing and treatment of viral hepatitis B and C. Now, according to the WHO, low coverage of testing and treatment is the most important gap to be addressed in order to achieve the global elimination goals by 2030. But in Ghana, funding for hepatitis is not donor supported, thereby making it a challenge.
Described as an inflammatory caused by the infection of one of the 5 hepatitis viruses, liver hepatitis is one of the public health problems faced by Africans. A silent killer. Viral hepatitis B and C are major health challenges affecting 325 million people globally. They are root causes of liver cancer, leading to 1.34 million deaths every year. In an attempt to curb the incidence of the disease, the Ghana Health Service, in collaboration with Save Your Liver, launched a Ghana Liver Hepatitis Fund. The fund, which was born out of a memorandum of understanding between the two organizations, has been strategically designed to ensure that Ghana Health Service structures across the country are fully activated to offer a nationwide free diagnosis, treatment support, among others.
We are hoping that at least we'll be able to rope in government support budgetarily in terms of the budget allocation, and then we'll be able to build sustainable partnership with the corporate Ghana, and then any other stakeholder who will be willing to support this. The crowdfunding aspect will also come on board. Of course, we will have to work with the telecoms to see how best people even outside the country, Ghanaians outside the country, can also contribute.
The Director of Institutional Care Division at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Samuel Kaba, noted more education needs to be done.
We still got a lot to do. One of the things we actually lay emphasis on is to do a lot of health promotion and prevention, more than the curative. But we are also investing a lot in the curative and rehabilitation of such patients. But more important to the public is to understand the need for promotion and prevention.
Don't forget that NEWSAT10 is live on DSTV channel 279. We'll return shortly with more. Do stay. Now let's go to Parliament, where Speaker of Parliament, Right Honourable Professor Aaron Michael Quay, has urged the members to improve on punctuality when the House resumes from recess. Addressing the House just before going on recess, the Speaker noted work on Parliament's enhancement project are ongoing and will ensure all members are properly housed.
Works on the Parliament's enhancement projects continue steadily, without any hitch. All certificates prepared and presented to the Ministry of Finance have been honored so far. I hope the House will continue to have the cooperation of the Ministry in seeing to the timely releases of Parliament's quarterly subventions as well as all the relevant payments. Very soon, all members should be comfortably housed in their offices. The board has also proceeded with keen interest to the establishment of a legal and drafting department for Parliament, something which has never existed. A consultant in the person of the renowned legal colossus, Justice V.C. R.A.C. Crab, has been approached. He helped Kenya in establishing their legal department in the same way, sharpening their processes. Luckily, he has agreed to assist Parliament in this regard. We are working on paperless Parliament, and we trust that all those who are associated with this process will help us to achieve our desire. We want to turn this Parliament from a mere spending institution to an institution that can also earn income and take care of its people. The proposed Parliament Hotel is among such high-value ventures by the approval of the board.
Now, still in Parliament, Majority Leader Osei Mensah Bonsu says the House will decide on the review of the Ameri-Power deal before approval. He stressed extensive consultation will have to be made before a final decision is taken.
We need to be very consultative in this. And we are talking about clawing back some gains to the state. If people are raising issues about the gains that we are clawing back, to say that, but put together we may not even get anything, or maybe it will be minimal. Some are even saying that we may even end up spending more. We need to interrogate the figures to know that what we are doing, what decision that we are taking is in the best interest of the country, which explains why. And I spoke to the finance minister, I spoke to the attorney general, and we all decided, plus the minister responsible for energy, and we decided to tarry a while, have a closer look at it, and then I guess when we come back, in about a month or so time, when we shall come back, these things would have been well done and well considered, and then we'll be in a position to take a decision. Even bills that we do, they are not sacrosanct. Occasionally you do introspection and then realize that there's something that we could have done better. If there's anything that we could do better as a country in interrogating these agreements, why not?
And still in Parliament, it has postponed its decision on the Privileges Committee report that investigated alleged contemptuous comments by Kennedy Agyapong. The Majority Leader, Osei Mensah Bonso, made assurances that the House will act on the committee's recommendation when Parliament resumes from recess.
We had a pre-sitting meeting and we decided on that. A decision will be taken on one of them. But for now, I'm not able to tell. Let's get to the bridge and we shall cross it. As I said, we need to, look at the temperature in the House. And we are leaving today, and we all felt that we should leave on a point at a time and on issues that, bind us together, rather than on issues that will divide us. That's the reason. It's the only reason why we decided to reschedule the consideration. It's not as if it's been put eternally on the back burner. It certainly will be considered.
If the public feels Parliament is just...
No. The public... No. A decision will be taken.
Entrepreneurship has become a major buzz in the country due to the increasing spate of graduate unemployment. This development has forced some graduates to come up with innovative business ideas. We bring you a story of a 30-year-old graduate of the University of Cape Coast who is making a living from used car tires.
Worn-out tires constitute a chunk of waste generated. Most used tires end up being burnt and contribute to global emission of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. But tires can help reduce waste and protect the environment, especially when they are well managed. Certainly, this can create profitable business opportunities. After unsuccessfully searching for a job for close to 7 years, 30-year-old graduate of the University of Cape Coast, Nate, is now turning used car tires into wealth.
I completed 2011. And from 2011 to 2018, you can imagine the gap. We started with an application, moving from house to house, company to company. Every corner in the territory of Accra, you have passed them. So realize that things are not working out.
The entrepreneur converts the tires into eco-friendly home furnishing items with a touch of class. In his backyard at Prampram in the Greater Accra region, Nilante and his brother, a trained teacher, and 5 supporting staff offer clients a new artistic and fascinating use for old tires.
I used to study at Kantanka place, so that is where I got a basic idea from. So there I began to do what I can do with the things that are in the environment that are wasted. Started with car tire.
When business is good, he makes an average of 600 cedis a week. Papa Ni and his brother admit there are challenges, but that notwithstanding, they are upbeat about the prospects of the business.
Every day in and day out, we identify a new thing that the tire can do. Why we recently identified that the tire can make a very good sound.
Papa Ni Nate encourages unemployed graduates to come up with sustainable business ideas to transform their lives and help reduce graduate unemployment in the country.
Well, definitely an inspiring story. Away from that, more than 200 women in 4 communities in the Gushegu district of the northern region no longer depend on their husbands for their upkeep. They cultivate large hectares of farmland with funds they have saved through World Vision's Saving for Transformation project.
The Gushegu area has more than 200 settler communities. Agriculture is the only major source of livelihood for majority of the people. Women here are not entitled to own lands, and so they solely depend on their husbands. The region also has only one farming season, and hunger is prevalent when the crop season ends. This affects education of most children in the district. World Vision Ghana in 2014 introduced the Savings for Transformation project in 4 selected communities: Salah, Patinga, Tong and Melga. Adakabla, as it is called in their local language, allows residents to form groups with a maximum membership of 30, targeting women who are considered vulnerable. Each member makes a weekly contribution depending on one's financial strength. The money is kept in a box with 3 padlocks. The box is then given to a member, while the keys to the box are kept with 3 other individuals of the group to ensure maximum security. Funds accrued at the end of the year are distributed to members. Annually, they are able to raise more than 150,000 Ghana cedis. Members are also able to access loans from the group's contribution and pay with interest. The interest is then shared as dividends among members.
Before they started, the chairperson had to announce their previous sitting, the amount they had, the social fund they had before, so everything is made clear.
Another contribution, usually coins, is set aside as social funds to cater for the social needs of the group members. 4 years after the implementation of this strategy, women at Salah now have all year-round jobs. The women ply different trades, while others invest in agriculture.
I take loan from Savings for Transformation so that I can get laborers to come and work on my farm, then I'll pay them.
Parents at Salah now take care of their children's educational needs. Headmaster of the school corroborated the success story of the Savings for Transformation initiative.
They were having financial difficulties. That also hindered them to bring their students to school. But today, the savings group is in the community. The women and then the men, all of them that are involved in contributing small. So at the end, they can gather some money to pay or to buy uniforms for their children.
At Tong, women have used the opportunity to eradicate open defecation by constructing latrines. 12 other communities have been declared open defecation free. The Gushegu cluster manager of World Vision in Ghana, Eric Apeti, is happy World Vision has positively affected lives.
Look at them.
He said achieving good sanitation is a priority.
We had the opportunity to certify 13 communities open defecation free, which means that these communities have access to their household latrines. They no more go to the bushes. Then it's really bringing the fulfillment that we want in the lives of our children.
He said World Vision would broaden the intervention to cover women in other underserved communities for massive transformation.
Well, that's all for News at 10, live from the News Hub at Adesanwe in Kanda, Accra. We've also been live on DSTV channel 279, also interactive on our social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, as well as Facebook. I am Solis Rose Quarting. Good evening.